What up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and thank you all for tuning in. It's Matty B, and we are here for a little midweek Supercross breakdown, a little review and preview all in one video. I actually attended Daytona this past weekend, so I didn't really have time to do a post-race review or anything of that nature. And I'm sure some of you have maybe noticed no content from me from Daytona Supercross. Tried to apply for a media credential, got denied. I've been told I'm not allowed to film or any of that stuff. I just want to contribute, but not going to get any further into that. I've kind of already talked about it, but maybe one day, not hold my breath, but we'll see. But it was some good racing. I enjoyed my time down there. And in this video, we're just going to do a quick little Daytona review. I'll quickly touch on the little RC, DB, Lee Diffey deal that everybody's asking me to do a video on. And then we'll do an Indianapolis track preview and some predictions. We got the East-West Showdown coming up this weekend, which is always exciting. I cannot wait. So let's get into some Daytona review. I was watching up in the nosebleeds, up high in the grandstand, so I had a nice bird's eye view. I enjoyed it. Got to watch with some of my boys from my town. So we had a good time, had some beers, just kicked back and enjoyed the racing. So let's start with some thoughts on the track. I thought it was awesome. I loved it. It was very fun to watch. It got very gnarly, as Daytona always does. Super rutted, all around just brutal, so it made for a lot of mistakes, which is exciting to watch because, it's watching somebody ride around and do perfect laps isn't exactly super entertaining, so it just kept everybody on their toes. We saw a lot of lead changes, a lot of mistakes. Those really long rhythms were just rutted as can be. So it just made it to where people weren't really hitting the same lines every lap perfect, and it just made it really fun to watch. I definitely think it was one of the better Daytonas in recent years. I actually kind of like how they've kind of moved towards making it more of a supercross track rather than an outdoor. I feel like the old school back in the day, 25 minutes or whatever it was with all the two strokes, that was cool. But I just feel like the sports changed, the bikes and everything have evolved. So I feel like where we're at right now, I feel like that was a really good Daytona, a really entertaining one, and a fun one to watch with great racing. Now into the results. We're just going to briefly go through these. We'll start with the 250 class. With the win, RJ Hampshire. The dude was on it all day long. Fastest qualifier, heat race win, main event win. RJ finally came around. A lot of us know he was injured in the offseason, and his wrist still isn't perfect. I was just listening to him on the Pulpamex show this morning talking about how his crash at the opening round was because he had to run soft suspension because his wrist was so bad. He bottomed out, hooked left, and then he got caught on the Triumph Tough Block for 3 to 5 business days. So RJ's coming back around. I am a little bit worried about the prospects of RJ at Indy. If his suspension is still soft, there's going to be ruts everywhere, so that's going to reach up and grab him. But trying to claw his way little by little to get back up into that points picture. And it's a long season. We haven't even had one showdown yet, so it's all just begun, so I don't think RJ's out of it yet by any means. Then in second, Tom Vial, and with this finish, also up to second in the 250 East point standings, and that's just what this guy does. He's steady, he's consistent, he's going 5-3-2 so far, and Daytona was really good for him. I predicted him to be on the podium, and that's what he did. He was just solid all day, and I really don't think this season we're going to see much flash from him at all. I really think this is just what he's going to do, keep stacking those podiums, keep getting solid finishes, and by the end of the season, he'll have stacked enough points to have been in that championship picture, so he's right where he wants to be, I'm sure. Then third, Seth Hamaker. I'm kind of bummed because had he not gotten food poisoning at round 2, he'd be right in the conversation for this championship also. And I feel like his riding has actually been a little bit better than his finishes have been. He looks awesome on the bike. I feel like he looks smoother than ever. He's been training at the dog pound, and it all looks like it's paying off. First podium of the year. And I think this starts a good streak of results for Seth. I mean, he could even come out with an upset win in the East-West Showdown. He's that good of a rider. He's fast. We just haven't seen him get out front yet, so stay tuned for some more success from Seth Hamaker. Then in the 4 spot, Chance Hyman. I continue to just be so impressed with this guy. Only 4 days on the bike before the season, and he's just started out very solid. Nothing super flashy or anything as far as results go, but watching him in person, he looks really good on the bike, looks really dialed in and super comfortable. So I'm really excited to see what this turns into for Chance during the summer because I feel like that's really where he shines. But he's been really good, a lot better than expected. I didn't even pick him to be in the top 10 because I didn't know if he was racing. He has definitely been exceeding all expectations so far. Then in 5th, Mr. Handbrake, Max Volan. Awesome result for him. He's had some bike problems to start the year, but he finally got a good result in. And I know this handbrake, it's a totally revolutionary concept here in Supercross, but I have a little bit of experience with a handbrake myself, not with a clutch, but it was on a Stark Varg, a demo bike I had a handbrake. The first day or so of using it was super weird, but after a little bit, I really liked it. So maybe if Max has gotten comfortable enough with it, it could even end up being an advantage for him in some places, maybe even outdoors, so it would make sense why Daytona has been his best result of the year, but great job for Max. And then speaking of Max, 6th for Anstey, kind of threw it away off the start. I think he would have just been a little bit more patient, waited a lap or two to pass Vial if he had to. I think he could have took off and won that one, but hindsight's 2020. He went down, had to charge back through, and I didn't even mention this has been red flag cross. The entire 250E season has been red flagged at some point during the main events, And Max got screwed by the red flag at the last round, but then I think he got helped out a little bit by this round because everybody bunched up in front of him, made it a little bit easier for him to make some moves. So only a sixth, still retains the points lead, and this East Coast Championship's wide open. I really think there's at least 3 or 4 guys that have a good shot at it and all believe that they're the ones that should be winning. So I think it's only going to get better, especially with the Showdown this weekend. Then all the way down to 17th, we had Faulkner. I'm really glad he's healthy. I'm glad he's still out there, but the dude just doesn't quite look like Austin Faulkner. Maybe it's the bike, maybe it's the brain surgery, maybe it's a lot of things. I don't know, but yeah, it just doesn't quite look like himself. But if he stays out there and finishes the season, I can only see that as a positive for him building back to being a winner again in the future. Then in 21st and 22nd, the Pro Circuit teammates, both out now, Levi Kitchen and Cameron McAdoo. McAdoo finally couldn't take it with a knee. He's going to have to go under the knife, so bummer to see. I kind of saw it coming. I hate to say it, but those knees only last but so long when you're putting it through the grind and rigors of Supercross racing. And then we all saw Levi Kitchen's hellacious crash. Dude was just playing a game of risk versus reward. He was hitting that section faster than everybody, kind of wheelie scrubbing over the big one. But you get that one kick, and then it's game over. It's a very high-speed crash and a high-consequence crash. I think broken upper back and collarbone caused the red flag. So huge bummer. Now poor Mitch Payton, only down to Seth Hamaker on the East Coast. And get well soon to everybody that's gotten laid up in this Supercross season. This one's been taking bodies, taking prisoners, and it's not been for the faint of heart, that's for sure. So get well soon to everybody. Then the 450 class. First place, the winner, he finally did it. Kickstart Kenny, kickstarts it to victory. I actually had some skin in the game in this one. I, for the first time, did sports betting. I used the DraftKings, bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets deals. So I threw a bunch of money at a bunch of people. Kenny was one of them, so stoked to win a bet, my first time sports betting. That may or may not be creating an addict in front of your very eyes, so stay tuned. But no, I'm just playing. But great ride for Kenny. Good track for him, super technical and gnarly, and he's just so precise, picking his way through those ruts. Was so sick watching him do that little triple up onto the shelf and then maneuver the bike back out to where he wouldn't get kicked on the way back down. So awesome ride for Kenny. I kind of thought our second place guy, Cooper Webb, was going to run him down there at the end, but one mistake kind of kept that from happening. And great night for Cooper also. When it counted, the dude was on it, and I thought he was going to get Kenny. I really did. He was one of the few people I didn't put any money on, so I was sweating big time. But he comes home with the silver, and he extends that points lead even more. So I think Coop's got everybody right where he wants them. I kind of doubt he's worried about Kenny down the stretch, as we know. The end of the season isn't exactly Kenny's strong point, but you never know. And then Chase just keeps on making mistakes. So I think Coop is probably in a better place mentally than he's ever been on his way to one of these Supercross championships. So I still think he's the guy for that. And then in third, yeehaw, baby. About time. I've been calling it for weeks on this video. AP with the third. Great night for him all around. Showed tons of speed. His starts have been back for a few weeks, and now he finally put it all together. And I think this is the start of something for AP. I think we're going to have another good weekend out of him in Indy, in the ruts. And the dude's a fan favorite. Everybody loves him. The sport's better when AP's doing good. So stoked to see AP back on the box. Then in fourth, a quiet, sneaky, but very good ride from Justin Cooper. A really bad start, but he made his way forward the entire race. And even at the very end, he was making a run at AP for the podium. And I would almost be willing to say that Jake Coop could have had a chance at winning that one had he gotten off to the whole shot. And then last but not least, fifth place, Chase Sexton. I am kind of running out of things to say. I really don't understand it because the dude is so good. He's so talented, so much bike skill. Just everything about him, except for these little mental lapses and decision-making issues, everything about him is just on point. And yeah, just all it takes in Supercross is one very small mistake, and you're on your head, you're on your ass quick. And we've seen that with him a few times. Even in the LCQ, he was kind of riding all by himself and blew off the track in the infield and stalled it, I believe. So just a season of mistakes here in the midway point for Sexton. Hopefully he can turn it around because it's not been a very good cycle lately. When you do this week after weekend, eventually it'll start thinking to you. All the fans are talking about it. All the media is talking about it. Even TV, they're talking about it. So I hope this doesn't let it get to him because he's a bad dude, and I want to see him really bring the fight to Coop. I'm a Cooper Webb guy, but I just want to see good racing at the end of the day. So hopefully Chase can figure it out. And finally, I will briefly touch on this whole Daniel Blair, Ricky Carmichael, Lee Diffey deal. Everybody's been asking me to make a video about it. I really don't feel like I have the information or the knowledge to do that, so I'm just going to touch on it real quick. I'm biased. I'm a friend of Daniel Blair's. I'm on the Main Event Moto podcast, so I'm fully aware of that bias, and I don't even know Ricky Carmichael or Lee Diffey. I've never met either of them, so I don't feel like it's fair or the right thing to do to just come on here and throw out a bunch of judgment about things I don't even know. And Daniel Blair already put out like a 40-minute video explaining everything, so I'm not really sure what more I can say than the man himself has said. But what I will say, we all know DB crushed it in the booth, and RC is the GOAT, but we do have some stumbling and fumbling in the contract sometimes. but it happens. I mean, I cut and edit my videos all the time. I can't speak perfect. Most people can't. I do kind of want to condemn all you guys that are just running on Instagram and Twitter and all these, and in the DMs, just throwing hate towards RC and Ricky as if you guys would go up to their face and say it. I get it. We all love DB. He's a man of the people. The fans love him, but yeah, I just don't really love this culture we're in 2025 where everybody just goes and bombards social media comments, just saying stuff they would never say in person. And just, I guess in the world we live in now, that's the easy and, I don't know who thinks this is cool, but the easy and cool thing to do. But I don't really agree with it. So I think everybody should kind of just stay in their lanes and let the people involved handle it. And I'm sure some of you guys want to know my opinion, so I'm not going to go too deep on this, but I'll just touch on it. I feel like from DB's story, out of these two, Lee Diffey comes out looking way worse than RC. I mean, yeah, RC's not perfect, but Lee's kind of the one who orchestrated the whole DB being under the gun at NBC from the get-go, just because he was butthurt because DB complimented another commentator. And at the end of the day, I mean, I really don't even think Lee's a bad commentator at all. I mean, yeah, he says Daytona and Tamper, but I mean, I can get past all that. But this story was definitely a bummer to hear, and at the end of the day, bummer is really the only word I need to describe the situation. I'm sorry I don't have much more for you guys. I know that might disappoint you, but I'm not really trying to be TMZ. All the info has already been put out there by the people involved, so I'm just sitting back. I'm entertained by it. We did a Main Event Moto podcast on Tuesday, and we didn't even talk about it, not one word. And that video that came out, I learned just as much as all of you all did. I had no inside info, no prior info, so I'm just a fan of the sport like you guys. I do have some info on some things, but not that. So that's all I got about Daytona. Now let's go ahead and get into the track preview and some predictions for Indianapolis. Now, before we get into this track map, I want to make it clear that the main theme of the weekend is going to be ruts. Holy crap, is Indy gnarly. I went there, attended in person last year, and it was absolutely insane how gnarly and chewed up the track got. So a lot of these combos are going to be more basic than they would be on a normal track map, but this track just gets way too torn up to be busting quads and huge lines. So everything about the layout aside, ruts are going to be the biggest factor that plays into the results this weekend with the track, as it is in the contract to have peg draggers for days at Indy. Now let's get into the layout. Round number 9, Indianapolis, and I cannot believe we have already hit the halfway point of the season. It has flown by, but we're going to have a tight and sticky one in Indy. The Dome is definitely not one of the bigger ones on the schedule, and like I said to open this up, this weekend's all about ruts, so I feel like the layout is damn near irrelevant at Indy. You could build anything, and the chaos and entertainment will come just based on the dirt. But let's start with the start right on this far right side of the stadium, only using the width of the stadium into a left-handed 180 U-turn. So not a super long start straight to separate the guys, so I think we could see some bottlenecking and some chaos headed into turn 1. And I feel like a bit of a broken record saying this, and I really hate to predict carnage. It's not what I want to see, but 2025 has kind of been the year of the short start. We have seen a lot of them. And one more thing to note about this start is the track on the regular laps crosses it several times, so unless the guys are just pulling overtime with the dozers, there could be a chance that there's going to be some grooves roughed in from the regular laps, so that could be upsetting the bikes and the suspension headed into turn 1, which could even further contribute to some chaos. Then exiting turn 1, you have what honestly, in my opinion, might be the most dangerous obstacle slash setup of the year. Right out of the first turn, everybody's going to be all bunched up, and then there's a single heading under the bridge. And maybe this is just my PTSD from smoking a concrete while talking, but it makes me a little nervous having 22 guys jamming it underneath that bridge, so that could be sketchy. They are the best in the world, so a good chance that everything will be fine, but we have seen people slam into the side of the bridge. Cody Shock entered the chat. But off the start, you bang some bars through the tunnel, then we got a right-handed 90-degree corner, and then we got this little shelf step up to start this rhythm. If I had to guess, this might be a step over and then triple on off if they're lucky, if the track's been prepped in the last 3 to 5 business days, but more likely maybe a step on, step off, step on, step off, while peg dragging without any choice, of course. Out of that first rhythm, then we got a right-handed 180-degree bull corner. Going to be ruts everywhere. Cooper Webb going to be just licking his chops, turning down real low. And then headed out of the right-hander, we just got a simple, quick little rhythm section, 5 jumps. So obviously going to be a 2-3 or a 3-2 based on the ruts that they're going to have. I'm going to have to guess that maybe they can only muster a 2-3 in this section. I just think the corner is going to get a little too gnarly to get the 3 out of the corner. But if the 3 is possible with all the ruts and all that, that's definitely going to be a huge separator, especially come the main events when the track is at its worst. Out of that little rhythm, you just got a basic little bridge step up, but at Indy, even a simple little basic obstacle like this could be super gnarly because you know there's going to be ruts everywhere. So hopefully we don't see anybody doing any attempted K-dub transfers off the side of the bridge. We've seen it before, but it's going to be gnarly regardless. Over the bridge, pray for survival. Then you're across the start for the first of many times into what I think is probably going to be the gnarliest sand section of the year, with the exception of maybe Tampa. Super long, looks like it's got some moguls built in, a little inside outside groove, and just just a really gnarly long sand sweeper, which we all know with the 2x4 Supercross suspension is going to throw a wrench in everybody's programs. They all hate it, but to watch it, I think it's going to be interesting. And just imagine the challenge it's got to be to ride an entire track that's just full rut cross and then go to the complete polar opposite and rip through a sand sweeper. We got Unadilla and Lommel all on one track. As we transition from sand back to dirt, we got this little single as you launch back onto the start straight. I think it'll be cool to see some body English being used. Maybe we'll see some Mad Skills wheelie scrubs unleashed, and then across the start straightaway again into another short rhythm section. Should be just a pretty basic triple. And again, I use the word basic from the comfort of my couch, being an armchair quarterback and a half, because with the ruts there's going to be, even a triple like that with a huge run is going to separate the men from the boys, especially in the main events. And not being able to pull the trigger on that combo will be super costly because the third jump is a 5-footer while all the rest are 3-footers. So if you're only able to double in, you'll get way more airtime than had you done any other rhythm. Into another 180 bull turn to the left this time, and we gotta love how this track is pretty much exclusively 180 bull turns, always good for passing. But then out of this one, we got a rhythm section that kind of perplexes me. I don't really see an obvious line, especially with how the track's going to break down. We could maybe see a double, a triple, and then a tabletop over that extended single way off at the end. I don't think a triple in is very likely, but maybe a triple in and then a double and a table over the single. It looks like the gap between jumps 3 and 4 is kind of filled in, so I don't really see being able to triple on top of that tabletop. And then the last single in the rhythm is actually across the start, while the rest of the rhythm is before you cross the start. So I don't really see a step off being feasible there either. But I really like this section. It's definitely not normal. It's not something we usually see, and it's just something different. I think it's going to throw the guys for a loop. Out of that section, across the start, into another 180-degree bull turn to the right, back across the start, and then we got a single into the whoops. I'm not sure if this is just going to be a little check single to set you up to skim the whoops, or maybe you could jump that single and then jump through the rest of the whoops. I'm going to just go ahead and call it. I think the Indy whoops are going to be jumpers. They get way too beat up to be skimmers. So I think guys like Justin Cooper Webb, even though he's been a skimmer this year, guys like that should thrive through a set of whoops like this. Out of the whoops, into the final corner, looks like a little sweeper with a nice berm around the outside. I can't quite tell. It almost looks like it might just be a little bit off camera around the inside, but maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me. Out of that sweeper, a little double into the finish line. And even though the finish line is the most basic obstacle on a Supercross track, at Indy, it's going to be treacherous. A lot of those pictures I shared at the beginning of this track preview were of the finish line, so it's definitely going to be a peg scrape and national. Lay on the finish line, and then you're back under the tunnel that you go under off the start. And I feel like landing the finish line and going under a tunnel, I don't know what it is, but it just feels kind of old school to me, so I'm a big fan of that. And that's a lap around the Rut Cross National of the Indianapolis Supercross. Now on to some predictions for the weekend, starting with the East-West Showdown. And these were by far the hardest predictions I've ever had to make. I had to leave so many guys out. I think it's going to be a crapshoot for sure, but at the end of the day, with the win, I'm going to go Hayden Deegan. Even though he's been struggling with the starts and all, I feel like as long as he just gets through turn 1 and isn't on the ground, he's got 15 minutes plus a lap to carve through the pack on what is sure to be one of the gnarliest tracks of the year, and I feel like he thrives the gnarlier the track is. So I've got Hayden Deegan winning. Then I've got RJ Hampshire continuing the momentum from last weekend and landing in the second spot. I think he's learned his lesson from having that soft suspension in the ruts, so I think he'll be really good, but I just feel like Deegs, going back to the Swanee program, I feel like he's starting to unlock his little mini beast mode, so I think he's going to be tough to beat. And then in the third spot, I've got Max Anstey. I think the more technical the track, the better for him, so I think it'll be a good one for him. But I feel like you could pretty much just throw a bunch of darts at a board with a bunch of names, and that could be your results. You really never know in these showdowns, and a lot of it's going to have to do with the start. There could be a lot of chaos in the first couple of corners. All these predictions could be completely tossed out the window the second after these guys go through the first couple of corners. Then in the 450 class, I'm going Cooper Webb for the win. This has his name written all over it. Rutted, going to be turning down nice and low in those bull turns, and I don't think anybody can touch him. Then in the second spot, I'm going Kickstart Kenny. Again, a good track for him. He's really good when it's rutted and technical, but I just don't think anybody can stop the number 2 in these kinds of conditions. And then for the last spot on the podium, I'm actually going to go with back-to-back trips to the box for AP. Finally, he's got some confidence in him. We finally turned this season around just a little bit. The starts have been good for several weeks, and I feel like on this track, everybody's going to get spread out really quickly with how tight it is right off the start, and he's been up front a lot. And he's really good in the ruts. He always has been, GNCC background and all of that. Unbelievably enough, I left Sexton off. I'm having trouble ignoring history of what's been going on the last few weekends. I got to see him go through another weekend without a crash before I put him back on the box. But either way, it's going to be a really good one. I'm excited for it, and I hope you guys are too. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll be back for some post-race review after the race is over. Catch you guys next time.